every day makes me wanna holler, go away. I need more peace and hope and love. We're through a fighting in this crazy old world. I need strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
Oh, you know, we need them. Yeah, we need those strategies. We need those strategies for living. So are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
I thought I was ready. I think I'm ready.
I don't know. Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. She is psychotherapist, PLPC Lauren Leon McMillian. And, well, you know, you think you're ready, and then our life strategist shows up. His name is Samsun Knight.
That's right.
He has a new book out.
Yes.
And it was one, you saw me. I couldn't put this thing down.
No, he really couldn't. Yeah, he really couldn't.
And
I couldn't get it away from him for a few minutes.
So Leslie had to send us a second copy. Anyway, Samsun...
Quite an intriguing novel and story, yeah.
It really is an intriguing story. So, summer evening in the 1990s, Anne learns that one of her husband's lovers is expecting his child, only a few weeks after learning that she, too, is pregnant. He tells her casually, as if it's just another colorful story about his day, and the tenuous understanding between them, the careful balance of privacy and flexibility that has sustained their open marriage to date, is shattered. You know, Samsun is an assistant professor in the Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto, and it strikes me that you're going to there's going to be some management needed in this story, in this book, and I tell you, I can't wait to bring Samsun in and for you to meet him.
Yes,
because I'm sure he's an excellent management professor. But he's a heck of a writer, let me tell you that. Samsun Knight is our life strategist today here on Strategies for Living. Folks, thank you for being with us, and we appreciate our sponsors, making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center, and Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, alligator Italian sausage, and some pretty good muffies, too. The book is Likeness. Samsun Knight is our life strategist. Come back. You're going to love this. Your own Strategies for Living. Be right back.
Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul align. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio rehab every day. Chase those clouds of gray away. Your daily dose of radio rehab. Lift you up when skies seem dry. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
And welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian, let's welcome into the program now Samsun Knight. He is an assistant professor in the Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto. He is the author of The Diver and lives in Toronto, Canada. And I think he is not in Canada at the moment. He's on a hillside someplace.
I'm visiting family in New Hampshire, but it's great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Samson. You know, Samson, it strikes me. My undergraduate degree is in management and marketing and management. And,
lovely.
So I loved my management. I particularly loved, there was a professor, Dr. Burton, who was at LSU Shreveport back in the day and was one heck of a management professor. And I always loved the stories that he would tell. I couldn't wait to get to class, but to hear his stories. But then I pick up likeness and
that's quite the story from a management professor. Puts Dr. Burton to shame.
I well, God rest Dr. Burton's soul, but you know, I think he may turn over if he knew what I was doing today.
You know, I definitely do try to incorporate storytelling into my classes. This one doesn't always make it in, but definitely the style is there. I feel like I really felt that, I think, when I was looking around at going on the academic job market myself, where I really felt like a lot of these folks in these business departments really were my type of people. And I really felt at home with them because there is so much storytelling there, you know, and it was, I just felt right at home right away. It's been really lovely.
So, you a professor of management, so you started writing. You had a very, very successful book in The Diver. That was your first novel. How did you make that jump? How did you decide I'm going to write novels here?
Dive.
Yeah, that dive.
Yeah. It was actually, I usually like to describe it as a little bit sort of like, you know, you hear those stories of those like Russian gymnasts that, you know, like sometime at like when they were like 3 or 4 years old, you know, whoever was involved with the USSR was like, you will become a gymnast, and then they were kind of like built from youth when all the way into their like career into the Olympics. I feel like I was actually, my parents, when I was like 4 years old, my dad he took me on his knee and he like typed up one of my stories and he was like, you are going to be a writer. And so I feel like I was actually because he'd always wanted to go into writing himself. He was really sort of like a theatrical type of person, and he just like really kind of grew us into that direction. And I think a lot of more folks are actually surprised that I ended up also pursuing economics and now management. I think they were like in some ways it was sort of the plain old Jane choice to go into writing from that background, but I rebelled by becoming an economist against all of their wishes.
So you're the first book, The Diver. Tell us a little bit about that. And that came out in 2023, did it not?
Yes, yeah. So The Diver is sort of like a little bit of it's very, very different sort of aesthetic than Likeness, which is I think probably best described as like kind of a literary romance. It's a kind of like in kind of psychological drama. The Diver is a horror book. It's a kind of supernatural horror where it opens with this sequence where I guess it's still about a troubled marriage, but it opens with a sequence where a woman is going scuba diving with her husband. They're at the bottom of kind of like a lake floor. They're like 130 meters down, and they run out of oxygen. There's some miscommunications. It's not clear what's going on, but she gets the impression that he's going to leave her behind. He has like the last breath of air. She elbows him in the throat, takes that breath of air, and ascends to the surface. And he does not make it back. And then the rest of the book is, once he gets to the surface, he's like, wait a minute, did I even know what was going on? I was having a panic attack at the kind of bottom of the lake there. This was the love of my life. And she spends the rest of the book, without too many spoilers, trying to bring him back from the dead. And so it's a different type of stylistic turn than the book that just came out this summer, but also really fun and a lot of complicated relationship drama, you could say. Yeah.
So obviously, I've already set the stage by I didn't give away any anything because I'm reading from the back of the book. If you go to the bookstore and you pick up a copy of Likeness, what I read earlier is directly from the back of the book. But now let me throw a meanwhile in there because I talked about Anne or her husband. Meanwhile, Sandy, the lover, works to find her own path forward through her surprise pregnancy and all the million tiny miracles and catastrophes that she must now navigate, often entirely on her own. And searching through diaries and grocery lists and seances with the dead, Sandy tries to remember just enough of her original sense of direction to make her own way home. You
can see the connection with seances with the dead. I just have to have something in there.
Otherworldly element. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, so this open marriage thing, is that something that you're familiar with, Samsun?
Yeah, so this book is very loosely based on my family background, where I was actually the child of an open marriage. So my half-brother is a month older than me. He was born in April. I was born in May. And we kind of grew up in parallel, not in the same city, but actually seeing each other over the summers. And I think at first, suffice to say, it was complicated, but in the end, it turns into this sort of another sort of like non-traditional American family where he actually was the best man at my wedding, I was the best man at his wedding. We become really close over the years, but when this kind of strange family structure was coming into being is the sort of shape that this book kind of tries to tackle and tries to fill in. It's always I'm always a little hesitant to say that it's necessarily like based on a true story, because I think the hard part of writing this book was that, it's like, I feel like family stories, they tend to be either these big myths or like these laundry lists of like, you did this and then you did that. Right. And it's hard to really find the kind of like a piece that you can really shape into like the arc of a story. Right. And so I like a big part of the challenge of writing this book was honestly that, like, and on the one hand, I knew so little because I've never really known what that period was like for, all the many parents involved in my life. But on the other hand, I knew way too much. And there were way too many people. And it was so hard to be like, oh, but this detail and that detail. And in the end, it ended up being very heavily fictionalized version where I just kind of tried to think through, like, in the broadest outline, how could this make sense for me if I was kind of every person involved, if I was trying to make sense of sort of like I didn't see this multiple pregnancies coming, like how do you make sense of this? How do you sit with this? How do you kind of find your way forward? And I focused kind of on the two women's perspectives, trying to kind of figure out their own footing through this really pivotal moment when they both hear that the other is pregnant and have to kind of figure everything out.
Did having to take those perspectives, did that change anything for you internally, like emotionally? Did it help heal anything for you?
Absolutely. I now my running joke about this is I say everybody should write a novel about their conception. Everyone should write a full fiction book trying to think through their parents' state of mind when they were like, in the womb. And it was very it felt very sort of like it brought me into a much deeper empathy, I think, with just a lot of these things that I'd kind of taken, I'd taken those myths and taken those sort of like broad strokes explanations for things, and I realized sort of where I developed a much deeper sympathy, I think, for just all the real people involved, and it started to feel so much more like no one really knew what they were doing, and especially now that I'm a new parent myself, I'm just like, well, we're just all humans.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, and this book is obviously very human, and it is also very entertaining.
Yes.
It is a book that is hard to put down once you start it. I can attest to that. The book is called Likeness. Samsun Knight is the author, and he's our life strategist today here on Strategies for Living. You can find you can find Likeness, and you can find The Diver wherever you buy books, and I hope you will, out from the University of Iowa Press. We'll be back in a moment to continue our conversation today with life strategist Samsun Knight, right here on Strategies for Living. We'll be right back. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center. I say it a lot. There's no place like the Robinson.
Absolutely, there is not.
617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. You've got so much. You got the movies. You got Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor of RFC, open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday.
Newly remodeled.
Absolutely. Great menu. RobinsonFilmCenter.org is the way you check it all out. You can go to RobinsonFilmCenter.org at any time and find out what movies are showing. Here's the deal. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. When you become a member, you become a star. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street in downtown Shreveport. I'll say it again. There's no place like the Robinson.
There is not, and I'm glad we have one right here.
Absolutely. The RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, Learning RX Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning RX Shreveport.
Facing the same old problems day to day makes you wanna holler, get away. Looking for the road that'll get me there, looking for hope and peace to spare. Looking for strategies, strategies for living radio, your dose of radio rehab strategies.
And welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. Samsun Knight is our life strategist today. He is the author of Likeness. That's his brand new book. It's a novel. You're going to love it. It's out from University of Iowa Press, and it's not a long read.
No.
But you meet Sebastian, and Sebastian Sebastian has his hands full.
To say the least, right?
Sebastian has his hands full. Samson, you mentioned your brother. You and your brother, you were the product of an open marriage, and you guys hung out all through childhood. He was best man at your wedding. When you wrote this book, did you share with him the story before publication? And I'm just wondering what his thoughts were.
Yeah, I did. I think he actually has this pretty funny take on it, where he just wants to be featured more prominently. I was always joking to him. I was sort of like, I don't know if there's room, I might cut your character, and he was like, do not cut me. How like, by no means can you cut me from the book loosely based on our family. And he's always been a real enthusiastic kind of proponent. He's really. I mean, I think for all my family members, I think the surprising part is actually how, as I mentioned, the characters kind of don't really feel like their real life counterparts. But he's always been just kind of feeling like he lucked into a kind of free biographer, where he's like, well, he always wanted us to be like, because he's a lawyer, and he was like, I'm a lawyer, someone else should be a doctor, a soldier, like we need to fill out the whole crew, and so he's like, well, at least we have a biographer for the family. And so he's ready for a sequel where he gets a much more central casting. But yeah, I've shared with him, because I've been working on this book, trying to find the right shape for this book for I guess about a decade, and I remember sharing with him, and I spent a long time trying to find. I wrote like long version, started over, wrote another long version, started over, and then with my editor at University of Iowa Press, found this sort of like this kind of this nice kind of quickly paced short novel version that you're talking about today. Shout out to Jim McCoy for really helping me craft this sort of like this really fleet kind of fast read. Out of, because again, like I mentioned earlier on this show, it was just so hard for me to figure out, what were the important details, what was the story shape, and I kept getting weighed down by too many, but this thing was also there, and finding the parts that actually built on each other was always a big challenge. But much to my brother's chagrin, there were moments when his role was getting really cut down, and he's been a real sport about allowing himself to be still central, but not as central part of the cast.
So tell us. I don't want to ask too many questions because I don't want to give away too much. It is a short read. And it's a very provocative theme, but I found it very difficult to put down. And, spoiler alert here to our listeners, we interview a lot of authors, and I've become very good through the years at being able to take a book, look at its table of contents, and usually its introduction and conclusion. And, that's about the most I can do for most of the books that it's just a time thing. But then books like Likeness come through, and, I can't put them down, so there you go.
Down past the introduction this time, so.
I couldn't find an introduction in here, so.
Didn't work out.
So I was in trouble. Had to read the book. But you introduced Sebastian, of course, and then Anne and Sandy are the two ladies involved. And we're reading their diary, right? How did you come upon hit upon doing it that way? That's it. I mean, once I realized into the book, oh, this is what I'm into. You know. Yeah. How did that? Very intriguing. How did you decide? How did you hit upon doing it that way, Samsun?
Yeah, so I think as I talked about, I think the part that really unlocked a lot of these characters for me was figuring out how I could kind of like what parts of myself I could give them. You know, like what could I really where could I really situate sort of like my own kind of I guess I don't know. There's probably a more kind of artistic word for this, but you know, the piece of my soul that I could kind of start from, that I could kind of situate where everything was going, and it started from this kind of really soft-spoken, for both of them, first person, where I really needed to be kind of for each of them kind of explaining themselves to themselves, and I think that for both perspectives, that just kind of helped frame how I could bring this or that side of myself into the drama, and then build the situation and the complications and the relationships from that angle. I remember when I first started this, I had some, this is sort of like, I guess like mid 2010s, and I remember having like a theory where I was like, I'm going to do like a fictional auto fiction, I'm going to be like, Knausgaard, but not. But I think at the time it just kind of, whatever I called it at the time, it actually just grew out of how can I root this kind of personal dialogue, and then build it up from there.
That's so interesting. Explaining themselves to themselves.
Yeah.
And I caught earlier you saying kind of a recommendation that maybe we all write a story. But I'm thinking, if you do journaling, and Lauren, you do journaling,
yes.
and you share. I don't go looking, but you share a lot of your journaling with me, and I love to listen to it, as you well know. But I love this idea, explaining themselves to themselves.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
Yeah, how therapeutic would that be if more of us did that, huh?
Yeah, and just kind of observing their own like patterns of thinking, and yeah.
Yeah. The whole novel, I think, explores identity in kind of profound ways in that way.
Yeah, because I think, and that's a lot of like, I think what's so hard for them about these relationships is that these relationships is also how they understand themselves. So, as they're trying to figure out what these relationships mean to them, they're also trying to figure out, who am I outside of this relationship? Who am I within this?
Right.
Do I want to be this person within this relationship, or how do I make the person I am within this relationship, like, feel grounded, and feel grounded in who I want to be and how I want to be.
Yeah. So without giving away too much, what can you tell us about Sebastian and Anne and Sandy without giving away too much?
I would say that, like, to kind of set up the big picture, Sebastian is this guy who's, I like to describe him as kind of like, he thinks of himself as like a character in On the Road. He's sort of like this, he wants to be like Dean Moriarty, just kind of like living his freedom, traveling around the country, kind of following love wherever it takes him.
Right.
And Anne is our first narrator, and she just really falls for him. And when they first get together, he tells her that he can't do monogamy for, he has a bad past with monogamy. When they're first dating, that doesn't even really seem like that much of an ask. A lot of times when people are starting a relationship, they're seeing other people. It doesn't really even feel that unique. But then over time, he set it out as one of his ground rules, but then they start more seriously dating. They get engaged, they get married. And she has this growing discomfort with this kind of this part that she never she's agreed to, but was never exactly
on board 100%.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, there's this other partner who actually is looking for that type of relationship. That's Sandy is one of Sebastian's other partners, who's really sort of like at a different time in her life. She's a little bit older. She feels like she's not necessarily trying to build this into a marriage, and not that that would be an issue, but that's not where she's coming from. And she ends up sort of becomes this figure that actually really really troubles Anne, because Anne really feels that, like, you know, maybe the problem is just that she can't. She like if only she was someone like Sandy who could be so carefree, who could be so kind of okay with things. Yeah, exactly. And maybe the problem is just her own jealousies. And so it's sort of about their kind of intermediate connection through this polyamorous relationship, and also kind of how they reflect on each other as they're trying to find their way through.
What an unfolding. Likeness is the name of the book. Samsun Knight is the author. He's our life strategist today. We've got more. We've got more here on Strategies for Living, so stay with us. Don't go away. More today with Samsun Knight, our life strategist.
You to your table, we're keeping it alive with flavors from the family passed down to survive. The Godfather's here with a twist in the tail, alligator Italian sausage, and it sure won't fail. It's the boss of the bayou, a taste you can't refuse. Italian tradition, Cajun infused. Sausage, bold and true. The Padres bringing the bayou to you.
Get the Godfather alligator Italian sausage only at Fertitta's Delicatessen, 1124 Fairfield Avenue in Shreveport. Pick up a muffy while you're there. The Godfather alligator Italian sausage. It's a taste you can't refuse. Sold only at Fertitta's, 1124 Fairfield Avenue in Shreveport. Dealing with stress, pain, feel like you're running out of options? When your life is balanced, wellness is a given. True wellness is holistic. It's about the mind, the body, and the spirit, all in balance. Now, there's a place right here in Shreveport that's all about helping us achieve peak mental, emotional, and physical health. The Balanced Life, 117 Kings Highway, right next door to Strawn's. Come see and feel the difference getting your life in balance can be. Many of your friends and neighbors have already learned the difference less stress and pain mean in their lives. You can book a discovery session right now online, thebalancedlife.us. All you've got to lose is stress, pain, or maybe both. Come see and feel for yourself the real difference balanced wellness makes. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, 117 Kings Highway in Shreveport, next door to Strawn's. Thebalancedlife.us.
We all have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies for living radio.
And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. Samsun Knight is our life strategist. When you were doing the college thing, did you look up your professors? You know how you can go online and
the rate your professor
your professor thing.
Occasionally, but not often. No.
Our life strategist today just hits it out of the park.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He's got some A++.
Oh, he's got some awesomes. Lots of awesomes. Yeah. I think 80.
I could see that
87% of people who take his courses say they'd take him again.
I think might have to take a class, professor.
That speaks pretty highly for Samsun Knight and his writing also. He may be by day management professor, but by night he turns into a novelist extraordinaire, and his new book is Likeness, and you'll find it wherever you buy books, and I hope you will. Well, there's Samsun, there's a lot of people that are probably listening to us right now who have said some variation of, I've got a book in me. Mm-hmm. I want to write.
I got a story.
I got a story to tell, or I've got more than one story to tell. And you mentioned earlier that you were blessed because your father really nurtured and enhanced that for you. But not everybody is that blessed, is that lucky. What would you say to people who feel like I got to write? I've got something in me that needs to come out. What would you say to them?
I mean, so there's the usual yarns, just sort of like getting into practice, making it a habit. But I would actually go further and say that I feel like the creative space is a place where you're like just so full of yourself. You just get really high on your own supply. You're like, this is great. Mm-hmm. And like the creative mind of like where you're really feeling, I think, where you're really kind of building on your own output is letting yourself get a little carried away with yourself. Mm-hmm. But I think the advice I would give to people who are trying to start writing is to not be too self-critical. The first time it might not come out exactly the way you sort of like kind of have this gemstone picture in your head. Yeah. Don't notice that. Just lie to yourself. Just convince yourself this is actually the best thing that anyone has ever written, and just ride that feeling. Yeah. You can edit later, right? Like I think a lot of the trouble with writing, and a lot of why writer personalities tend to be a little bit sort of extreme opposites. They're either really excited or really depressed, is I feel like those are the modes that are most helpful to either creating or editing. And a lot of writers, like, you need to have access to this kind of effusive mode where you just get so excited about what you're working on, and you are like feeling that energy, and a lot of it is, later on you'll be like, well, maybe I'll edit this or that. But I think the hard part is, later on you do need that critical brain to kind of switch back in and to find some editing. But I feel like the really hard part to balance as someone, I think especially if you're trying to get into writing, is a lot of people, you're like a really practiced reader. You have a lot of a very well-honed sense of how you want this to look, how this should look, right. But you don't have as much practice writing, and so you're just so hard on yourself. It's coming out, and you're reading it as a normal reader, and you're like, gosh, and you get so discouraged. And I think that for someone who feels like they have a book in them, who really wants to get going, I would tell them to just sort of let yourself get carried away. Don't engage that critical brain just yet. It's crucial later on. There's also definitely, writers out there who just never access that critical brain, and that turns into its own issue. But I would say that, like, for those who really want to start writing, who haven't yet, I think letting yourself just believe in yourself a little bit, even if it's unjustified, until you get a little more practice. Just go off and don't look back.
Who's one of your heroes in writing as a novelist?
I mean, I love Faulkner. He's always been, he's one of the few writers where I've actually read, I think, almost all of his books. I just like, but I also love him actually because I take a lot of inspiration from novelists who had like some absolute gemstones, and then some books that like they got better from. And I both love Faulkner for having written some of the best books ever written, and I've never actually read it. It might be fantastic. I've heard Flags in the Dust was not as good as his later stuff, and he built that trajectory for himself. And I find that sort of like I always like him as a hero, both as so I can be forgiving to myself and also aspire to his greatness.
Yeah. What you were describing earlier in the process sounds to me a lot like something we might describe as the flow state, or almost an altered state. What practices do you do that help you to stay or to get there in that flow for you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is honestly something that I've started to pay a lot more attention to recently is actually just how I am physically. I find that when I'm standing up, when I'm standing at like a keyboard, it's a lot easier for me to kind of like get the energy going. Especially I'll put on some music that I'm starting to dance to. Really get the right mood going. I find that a lot of times when I'm feeling stuck, I look at myself and I realize I'm like, kind of half laying down on the couch.
Yeah, you're actually and I'm like, physically stuck.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that like getting up and walking around, I'm a big pacer. And then beyond that, some of the things like that might look a little crazy, but I sometimes, when I'm really getting into a scene, I'll start talking to myself. I'll be kind of sounding out the dialogue.
Yeah.
You might have been able to tell us in the writing, but I'm someone who writing really comes to me often as like a character talking to me. So I'll start kind of hearing those voices, hearing that dialogue, and sometimes, according to my wife, say it out loud. That's when it's really, I'm standing up. There's music on. It might have been the music. Who knows? But yeah, I think a lot of it is just getting that energy right.
Well, I tell you what, if the university where you're at were close, I'd come audit one of your classes. In the meantime, folks, you can go to school by getting a copy of Likeness. You're going to love this novel. Samsun Knight is the author. And if you're anything like me, you won't be able to put this thing down. Samsun Knight, our life strategist today here on Strategies for Living. We'll be back to wrap up our conversation in just a moment. Don't go away, but in the meantime, go get a copy of Likeness from your favorite bookseller. We'll be right back. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
And welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. Samsun Knight is our life strategist today. His new book is Likeness. You got to find this book. Maybe get both. Mm-hmm. The Diver and I've got to go get the Diver now.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Samsun, what do you want to leave with us today as we wrap up our time together? I wish we had more time, but as we wrap up this conversation today, what do you want to leave us with? You got about a minute here.
I'd say that when I was writing Likeness, I think I really had this feeling of really wanting to build a kind of a quiet friendship with the reader. I still remember one of my favorite experiences of reading was I read In Search of Lost Time, and I remember when I put down the book, weeks passed afterwards when I just missed hearing that voice in my head, and I really felt like I had met someone who was so vivid, and I just really hope that you can make friends with the characters and really get to understand these people kind of in these pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for your writing. I look forward to the next time that we get to spend a little time together and enjoy that new baby.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much for having me, and wish me luck.
Definitely. Go get the book, folks. Likeness, Samsun Knight. Thank you for being with us here on Strategies for Living. We love to do this for you each and every day, and we can do it because of our wonderful sponsors, the Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center, and Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, alligator Italian sausage, and some pretty good muffies, too. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillian and for Samsun Knight, I'm David McMillian. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.